Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, my name's Melissa and welcome to my channel. Today we are doing a super exciting tag, so let's get started. So this is actually, I think, my second or third tag that I've done on this channel. I created one, link all of those videos but up above, but I decided to create another one. I had this idea to help celebrate the Disney 100, which as of this video posting, I think it's in a few days, the official anniversary. I think it's like October 16th or something like that, which is really exciting. So I wanted to make a video sort of celebrating that and celebrating the Disney 100 as a whole. I am calling this tag the Disney Decades tag, kind of named after the Decades collection that's coming out in the parks and on Shop Disney. So if any of that sounds cool to you, let's get started. Before we get into the questions, I do want to preface the questions with saying that these questions are going to be set up a little differently. I have questions for every single Disney decade that Disney has been around, and I tried to encapsulate my thoughts and my thinkings of both that decade in Disney and also that decade in the world. So the questions might be a little unique and different and surprising, maybe, I don't know. I will try to explain the ones that might be a little weird and what my thinking was. They make sense to me. I don't know if they'll make sense to you as an audience, but yes, I did want to, before I get into the questions, say that. I also didn't number the questions, I just said the decades, so I hope that's okay with everyone. And without further ado, let's get into it. Let's just start off with the first question. The 1920s, the early years. It all started with a mouse. What is your earliest Disney memory? So my earliest Disney memory is actually not a super early Disney memory, or it is and it isn't. It's not super distinct, if that makes sense. My earliest Disney memory is watching The Little Mermaid, but specifically watching the ride POV that came in one of the Disney DVD disc sets. I don't know when exactly I started watching this, but that is my earliest memory from Disney. I also have a lot of Disney World memories, but that's the one that I think is the earliest, because I think I started watching that when I was 5 or 6, I want to say. And yeah, I just remember always sitting and watching it, and it was one of my favorite things to watch. And then when they announced the ride was actually coming, I think it originally came to Disneyland first, and they had incorporated elements of it. I was so excited to go on it when it finally opened and see and compare it to the fake ride POV. It was an animated version, so it wasn't actually the ride there. It was their idea of what the ride would be. It was a bonus feature on the Little Mermaid DVD. But yeah, that is my earliest Disney memory. The 1930s, the first Disney princess. Who is your favorite Disney princess? So my favorite Disney princess, I oscillate between a lot, but consistently, normally, it's Mulan. I love Mulan. I think that she is just such a fierce princess, and her movie is one of my favorites. It's always been one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites from childhood till now. There are some movies that I watch in childhood, I guess you could say, that I don't watch now, and there's also a lot of movies that I saw after my childhood I rewatched. I'm sure I watched them as children, but I now have an appreciation for it. But Mulan is one that stuck with me. My second favorite is Sleeping Beauty, aka Aurora, but I think my first favorite will always be Mulan. I never had a Mulan costume or anything as a child, though. I did have many Sleeping Beauty costumes as a child, but yeah, she's just my favorite. I don't know what draws me to her. I think it's also the just power of her songs that she sings, or her song that she sings in the beginning of the I love that scene. The oh my gosh, what is the name of that song? Who's that girl I see staring straight back at me? What is the Reflection? Oh my gosh, I have to sing the song. Sorry for my really terrible singing, but I love that. I think that's such a powerful song, and I think she just resonates with me too. I just love all of the side characters in that movie. The grandma, who was amazing. But yeah, I think it would have to be Mulan. 1940s, Fantasmic. Which film do you think is the most visually stunning? Okay, so let me explain this question. I think Fantasmic, when Fantasmic came out, it was considered like one of the most beautifully animated and beautifully made movies, and it was a huge deal. So that is the reason behind this question. The movie that I personally think, the Disney movie that I think is the most visually stunning is Alice in Wonderland. I think that there is just so many details and so much art that went into Alice in Wonderland. Plus, Alice in Wonderland is tied with my personal favorite art style, which is like the Mary Blair art style. I also think in general, sorry if you love Alice in Wonderland, I love Alice in Wonderland too, don't get me wrong. But I think in general, Alice in Wonderland doesn't have a amazing plot line. I think the main reason why I'm drawn to it is the art style and the beauty and the colors and just everything about that aspect of the film. There's also not a ton of music. I mean, there is music, but not like super famous soundtracks. So just to me, the embodiment of Alice in Wonderland, the film, is the beauty of the art style and the animation and the beauty of the film. So that's why I personally consider it one of the most beautiful films. I feel like there's so much, like, if you just gave me like screenshots of the film, I would think it would be visually stunning and I would want to put art of it on my wall. I think that some of the art that's come out of the film is great too. Like I said, it is very tied to my personal favorite art style, Mary Blair. But yeah, I think it's just such a, like, when I think of Alice in Wonderland, I just think of vibrance and colors and details. And I think Wonderland is also just such a whimsical, fun place that, like, you can't say that it's not also beautiful, if you know what I mean. And I'm definitely one of the whimsical, like, I love the whimsy, and I love like whimsy decor. I love whimsical, like, Christmas decorations especially. I know that's not super tied in with Alice in Wonderland, but yeah, I just think it's a stunning movie, and I think that there's just so many beautiful parts of it. There's also so beautiful like items that come out of it too. Like, there's such great merch that come out of it too. I know that's like lesser of a thing, but I think it's just such a visually stunning movie. So yeah, now we're moving on to the 1950s, aka the golden age or the classic age. What Disney movie gives you the most nostalgia? So I wanted to pick this one because I feel like there's so many classics that come out of the 1950s, and I feel like there's just nostalgia written all over the 1950s. For me personally, I think the movie that gives me the most nostalgic like feelings is probably, as weird as it sounds, Pirates of the Caribbean. My sister was obsessed with Pirates of the Caribbean. She still loves it. She's not as big a Disney fan as me. She was when we were like growing up, but like as she's gotten older, she's kind of left that behind. But she still really loves Pirates of the Caribbean, and I can remember watching it with her as a kid. So it just reminds me of her, and it reminds me of like those times as a kid we used to watch it. I also feel like it just reminds me of like the early 2000s too, with like Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom and all of that. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a movie that in general I watch like a lot. I don't rewatch it very often, but like when I do, it does remind me a lot of that. It's like one of the few movies that gives me nostalgia outside of like holiday movies. Like if I were to tell you which movie out of any movie gives me the most nostalgia, it'd probably be like one of the Christmas movies that I watch every single year. But I think out of Disney movies, it would have to be Pirates of the Caribbean. Plus, it reminds me of the ride, and the ride is one of my favorite rides. I would say that it's up there with Big Thunder Mountain, Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. They're like my three favorites. But yeah, that is the movie that gives me the most nostalgia. 1960s, it's getting groovy. What is your most favorite wild, underrated, or surprising Disney movie? What I mean by this is a movie that you're surprised Disney made, or that you feel like is underrated for what it is. And I think the number one movie that comes to mind when I say underrated, or like I'm surprised that it was made by Disney, is always Emperor's New Groove or The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But for this, I'm going with Emperor's New Groove. There's a couple of reasons why I think this. The first reason why is I've actually like read and heard and like listened to podcasts and that kind of stuff about the making of Emperor's New Groove. And Emperor's New Groove was one of those ones that like slid on by without a lot of like overseeing by like corporate type of thing. Like from what I've heard, from what I've read, and what I've listened to on like, again, videos and that kind of stuff, it was something that had very little oversight. That's the word I'm looking for. And I think that it's also just such an underrated film in general. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And of Disney movies too. And I think it doesn't get enough praise. I love Yzma. Yzma's actually one of my favorite. She's like climbing up the ranks of my favorite villains, which is kind of surprising. I do still love Maleficent the best, I will say, but she's definitely like getting up there. I also just think it's a hilarious movie, and it has so much heart too. And I feel like it's one of those stories that is like, it's one of the few Disney movies that's not focused on like romance and that kind of stuff, which I feel like makes it such a fun family movie too. And I just love that aspect as well. I think that it's just such a great movie, and again, it's just so funny. Like, you watch it and I like audibly laugh, which is something I don't do frequently when I'm watching like TV or movies. But yeah, I don't know, it is also a nostalgic one for me too, I would say. But I think the reason why I feel like it fits this question is that just the things that I've read about the making of the movie and like the time period that it was made to, it's just like, I think it's just also so underrated. I know that it has more of a fan base than I feel like it used to, but it's still, I feel like, not a lot of times mentioned, and a lot of like Disney YouTubers and that kind of stuff. And so I feel like it is really underrated, and it's, yeah. That's my answer. All right, moving on. We have the 1970s, the opening of Walt Disney World. What bygone Disney parks attraction do you miss the most? And this can be a ride, it can be a show. I think the one that I miss the most, I mean, it still technically exists, but it doesn't exist in Disneyland anymore, if that makes sense. I don't think that the Disney World iteration is the same. It's the Frozen show from Disney California Adventure. It was replaced, or it was taken out, I think like pre-COVID, and then it came back with the Rogers musical instead. Where it used to be is now the Rogers musical. There is a Frozen show in Hollywood Studios, but I think it's different, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong if you've seen both. I haven't seen the one in Hollywood Studios before. I don't know why. I think it was closed when I went, and yeah, I just never saw it. But that was the best like Disney parks show I had ever seen. The production quality was so good. I feel like Frozen is one of those movies where they can kind of scrunch it down, which is what they do in the parks. It's usually like 30 to 40 minutes, and I feel like Frozen is one of those ones that can be done a little faster, even though I do think it's a great movie, and I don't think the length of the movie is bad, but I do think it's one that can be kind of condensed down pretty well. And I remember when I first saw it, my mom actually saw it like when it like first opened with my grandma, and she was like, oh, it's so good, we have to go see it. And we went and saw it. We mostly saw it to get some like AC, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a good like show. And I was so surprised, because normally I'm not a huge fan. Sorry if you are a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of the shows in general. That's just not something that I like to spend my time on personally, but that's just me. And that kind of changed my perspective on it. I do really want to see the Tangled show that's in Disneyland as well. I meant to go see it this past Disneyland trip, and then we missed the show time, and then we were leaving early, so we couldn't go see it. But yeah, I would definitely say that the attraction, the show that I miss the most, is definitely Frozen and DCA. Moving on to the 1980s, aka the live action days. What is your favorite live action movie? Okay, this one I have thought about before, and it's kind of hard because there are so many like good ones, and I think my answer is going to be Mary Poppins. I already used Pirates of the Caribbean, even though that's great live action. I'm gonna use Mary Poppins. I actually do like Mary Poppins Returns better than the original Mary Poppins, but I do like both. I love Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is also one that gives me like all the feels. I really love sort of the imagery of that time period as well. I feel like it also reminds me of the Disney parks because a lot of the parks is like based on the time period that it takes place in, or I should say Main Street is, and Main Street is like really the part of like the parks that gives me all the feels as well. Mary Poppins was not one that I watched as a child. I don't think I actually saw the original Mary Poppins till I was like 10, I want to say. So it wasn't one that I rewatched consistently as a child. And then, but it is one that since then I really do love. Again, to tie in Mary Blair, it's also very tied in with her. And it's just very whimsical, which as I mentioned before, I love the whimsical movies. I love the whimsical like decor and all of that. It just like gives me all of the feels too. I don't know. I really love it. And also, Mary Poppins Returns was like one of the first movies that I can remember seeing in like, I know I saw movies before it, but I also have a terrible memory. But it's like one of the first Disney movies that I actually remember going to the theaters and like watching, because my family didn't really go out to see like movies that much as a child. We maybe like went once a year. And I remember going, I don't even remember, I was in middle school when it came out, or maybe I was even in high school. I don't know when it came out, but yeah, I was a lot older. But yeah, it just gives me all of the feels, and so I think it just wins as my favorite live action. And also I love like British movies and like British TV shows. I'm a big fan of Bridgerton and The Great British Baking Show, and like Britain and all of that gives me like all the feels as well. Moving right along to the 1990s. This is the Disney Renaissance. If you could fall into one Disney movie, what would it be? Okay, let me explain this question because you're probably like, what does the Disney Renaissance have to do with this? Here is my reasoning. I feel like one of the things that captures the Disney Renaissance is the fact that they sort of went back to these storybook movies or these storybook stories and made them into movies. And I feel like one of the things that we like romanticize so much about like these movies is that we would love to like fall into it. That is the reasoning. I hope everyone understands. But yes, which movie would I want to fall into the most? This is a hard one because I feel like a lot of Disney movies like start off hard and then like, you know, they grow and all of that, and I just wouldn't want to deal with like any of the villains. So for the reason that I wouldn't want to deal with any of the villains, like the super evil villains, I think I'm going to choose Frozen. One, because I also love winter. I'm a really big winter fan. I love snow. I love the cold. I also really love the like architecture of Norway, but also of Arendelle. I also, if I could be like a queen, like I would want to be Elsa, because I would want to be Anna because she becomes queen, and I wouldn't want ice powers. That's just me. I don't want ice powers. I don't want all that pressure of the ice powers. Also love Kristoff so much. So yeah, I think it would be Frozen. I also love the outfits of Frozen too. Frozen as well, not Frozen 2. I actually prefer the outfits from Frozen 1 than Frozen 2 personally. I specifically love Anna's outfits. I probably, if I could pick between being Anna and also if like I were to step into the story, I would probably want to be Anna, if I'm being completely honest. I think Anna also just resonates with me more. She is also one of my favorite princesses. I mean, they're all my favorite princesses, so. But yeah, I think it would be Frozen actually. Let me know what you guys think. That one I feel like is a hard one because it's like there's so many classic stories, but like there's also the villain element, which I like I don't know if I would just be scared of the villain, if I'm being completely honest. And like Hans, I feel like I could deal with Hans. Like, I feel like I could deal with Hans. So our next decade is the 2000s, the Disney Channel era. What is your favorite DCOM, Disney Channel original movie, or Disney Channel show? Okay. This is my favorite, one of my favorite Disney movies, and it also, I feel like I'm just talking about all my nostalgic, like, childhood favorites, but this one is one that I probably rewatch too frequently, but it is Lemonade Mouth, which was a Disney Channel original movie. I don't remember when it came out. It came out at some point in my childhood, but it has Bridget Medler and like a few other like Disney Channel stars, and it has Jasmine from the live action, the girl who played Jasmine in the live action, she was also in that movie, fun fact if you didn't know. But that one I also love because of the friendship element of it. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it if you have Disney Plus. It's my favorite like DCOM. I feel like it's one of the best made ones too, if I can give my bias opinion. I feel like it also like plays on that like underdog like element too as well, and it's just like, it's again one that I love, but I think it's just a really well done story. I think it's one of the best stories out of all of the Disney Channel original movies. I also feel like it's one of the least cheesy ones. Personally, not that there's anything wrong with cheesy movies, because I love cheesy movies too. And there are like romance elements, but it does really focus on the like friendship ones, and it's just, I love that movie so much. Like, just, it's one of my favorites. I can't like fully describe how much I love it, but I just do. I just love it. The next decade is the 2010s, the sequels and reboots era. So my question for this one is, which reboot or sequel do you like better than the original? I know this one's gonna be hard for some people. I think my answer might upset a few people, and I'm sorry if it upsets you, but I'm gonna go with Toy Story 3. Yeah, I like Toy Story 3 better than the original. I know it's technically a Pixar movie, but you know, it's part of Disney. I don't know. I was never a huge fan of like Pixar movies in general as a child. Like, the only one that I really loved was The Incredibles, which I still love. I think that is such a great movie. And I didn't really start appreciating Pixar movies till I got older, and now there's quite a few that I love. But I love Toy Story 3. I think Toy Story 3 is the best Toy Story. I'm sorry if I said it. I love it. I think part of it is that it did come out like, I don't think it came out when I was super young, but it came out when I was younger. So I had more of a chance to more or less grow up with it. Plus, when it came out, it was like right around the time that my sister left for college. And if you know what happens at the end of Toy Story 3, my mom was very much feeling the feels, and it felt very much similar to like what was going on in my life personally. And I just also remember going to see it in theaters when I was a kid, or not when I was a kid, I was a little older. And I remember my mom crying when Andy left. Like, yeah, it was just like, it just hits in all of the feels too. I feel like this is gonna sound super weird, but I feel like one of the things that like marks a Pixar movie is like the making you cry element, and like Toy Story makes me bawl, or Toy Story 3 specifically makes me bawl like no other. Like, it makes me cry. Not that other Pixar movies don't, but like that one also makes me cry. I don't know, I just really do like love it. And I think that it's also my favorite animation wise. I think that the animation, I really like the like sort of evolved animation style from the original. I'm also just not a huge fan of the, like, this is gonna sound super weird, the coloration of the original. I don't know why, but like that always sticks out in my brain, and I'm just not a huge fan of it. I also like the like daycare element. As like someone who works in daycare, I now love the daycare element of the third one. I don't know, it's just one that I would rather rewatch the third one than the first one, definitely, by far. And so it's I like it better than the original. I'm sorry guys, that might upset some people. Alrighty, and finally we have the 2020s, into the modern era and the future. What is one thing that you would like to see in the Disney realm come to fruition? So I'm filming this like slightly after D23, the destination D23, so I feel like this is very like modern, like, and also Walt was a very big fan of innovation, so I feel like this fits this question. I think the number one thing that I would love to see, and I don't know if this is gonna happen, but I think it would be really cool if Disney opened up another Disney park, not necessarily in the US, but like somewhere else. I feel like it would be really cool if they added a 5th park to Disney World specifically, or maybe added a like another destination, like maybe in like Britain or like Australia, I think would be cool, or like New Zealand or something like that. I don't know, I just feel like even though I haven't visited any international parks, I think that having a new fresh park with everything that they've learned from the previous parks is something really, really cool. They're like, if you look at the difference between Disneyland and Disney World, not that I don't love Disneyland, but like the changes and the things that they innovated between the two is just so drastic. And then moving forward and on to like each park that was built afterwards, I think it's really, really cool. I don't know, I would love to see another park be built in my lifetime. I feel like that would be really cool. I would also, I mean, all of the D23 things, out of the ones that they have like hinted out and announced, I'm really excited for the Dino Land like refurb. I'm actually really excited for it. I as much as I love Dino Land, I don't think that it fits in Animal Kingdom anymore personally. I know I've watched a lot of and read a lot of things about the creation of Animal Kingdom, and it really fits with the image they had, but I just don't know that in the direction it's gone now it fits. So I'm really excited to see that rethemed. I love all of the innovations they're doing in Epcot too. And yeah, I'm excited for like parks innovations specifically. As far as movies go, I would love to see more animation movies. I feel like they've really moved away from doing a lot of animation movies, and I mean, they have a couple coming out, like they still have the Pixar ones, but I feel like they don't have as many Disney animation movies, if that makes sense, which I would love to see. I'm excited to see Wish, which I think comes out in like a month. I think it comes out in November, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, I love Encanto, that was amazing. But yeah, those are all of the like wishes, hopes for the future, I guess you could say. And that was the tag. I know the questions were a little bit different than you might have been expecting, but I hope you still enjoyed watching it. And with that being said, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below any of your answers to the questions that I shared. As for tagging people, I normally don't tag specific people. If you want to do this tag, if you're watching this and you just want to comment some of like your answers to some of the questions that resonated the most with you, do it. Comment it down below. If you have a YouTube channel and are watching me, I highly recommend you do this tag also, and because I love knowing people's answers to the questions. I feel like the questions are ones that like I tried to be a little unique in my thinking. I don't know if it completely came across for that, but I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. And again, I encourage everyone to do this tag, even if you don't have a YouTube channel. Tell me your answers. With that being said, like I said, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe down below for more magic from me. I just hit 200 subscribers, which is so exciting, and I want to thank everyone for that, and I again sincerely hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!